This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous session, we have discussed about SOQL queries, and we have discussed what exactly in SOQL query, what is the use, what we can do with the help of these SOQL queries we have discussed in the previous session, and how to prepare the SOQL query and what is the syntax we used to follow we have discussed in the previous session. And upon using this SOQL queries, what are the various governor limits has been imposed by Salesforce? We have discussed those governor limits, and we have discussed about the various best practices that we used to follow in order to overcome these governor limits. And we have discussed the various ways to invoke the SOQL queries. And we have used a way called as query editor from developer console in order to execute the SOQL queries, and we did some practical use cases also. Now, so while executing this SOQL queries, not only using the query editor from developer console, we can use Apex programming also. Through Apex programming also, we can invoke the SOQL queries. Now, in this case, whenever we are preparing and executing the SOQL queries through Apex programming, Apex provides two types of SOQL queries. Whatever the SOQL queries that we are preparing, that has been divided into two categories. First one, static SOQL queries. Second one, dynamic SOQL queries. Then what is static SOQL? What is dynamic SOQL? Now let me explain one by one. Okay, now make a note of this one. We can invoke the SOQL queries by using Apex programming also. Now, Apex divides the SOQL queries into two types. Apex divides the SOQL queries into two types. First one, static SOQL queries. Second one, dynamic SOQL queries. Then what is the static SOQL queries? Okay, we'll see first. Done with these points? Now tell me in general, what do you mean by static? Fixed one. Static means fixed, which can't be changed at runtime. In this case, as part of this static SOQL queries, whenever we are preparing the query will be always a fixed. Query will be always a fixed. That means upon preparing the query itself, we have to specify what columns or what fields you would like to fetch. Second one, what conditions you are going to apply to filter the records. So, while preparing the query itself, we have to specify the required fields and the conditions to be applied in order to filter the records. But at runtime, when you try to add some more columns, Salesforce won't support. When you try to add one more conditions at runtime to the query, it won't support. That means while preparing the query itself, we have to specify all the fields and the conditions which you would like to apply to filter the data. Now, In this case, how can we prepare static SOQL queries? So whatever the SOQL query that we have prepared, if we are enclosing that SOQL query with a square braces, then it will be static. This is the indication. Static SOQL queries will be always enclosed with square braces. That means the query will be enclosing with a square braces, so query will be fixed, which can't be changed at runtime. We can't add any columns at runtime. We can't add any conditions to the query at runtime. The query will be always fixed. Okay. Now, so in this case, once a query has been prepared, then how can we execute this query? We no need to execute the static SOQL query manually. Whenever we are enclosing the query inside the square braces, automatically Salesforce will execute this query. Okay, static SOQL queries will be executing automatically by Salesforce itself. We no need to invoke them manually, that will be executing by Salesforce automatically by default. That is a functionality of static SOQL query. Now, so now tell me in this case, if the query has been executed, will it be returning some records back, right? Yes, because the basic purpose of SOQL query is to fetch the data. Now, whenever the query has been executed by the Salesforce Apex runtime, then query will be returning some records. How many records it will return? What is the maximum number of records my query can return? 50,000. Yesterday we have discussed. Each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records. Now, suppose for example, whenever we are fetching the data from the object, if the object is having one record here, then query returns how many records? Only one. If the object is having more than one record, then query will return multiple records up to maximum of 50,000. That is the limitation given by Salesforce. Now, in this case, if the query returns only one record as a result, then how to store? Just the query will collect the record from the object, it will be throwing to you here. We need to catch that record here. How to store? Now, let's see. How can we process those record details? Now, let me explain. For example, I have an object. I have an account object. In this account object, I'm having only one record. This object contains only one record. Now I'm preparing an SOQL query, which is a static SOQL query here. How to enclose static SOQL query? In square braces. That's it. Whenever you are writing the SOQL query in square braces, then it is static. If you are writing SOQL query in single quote, then it is dynamic. This is a straightforward blind indication. Okay, if the SOQL query has been enclosed with square braces, then it will be static. If the SOQL query has been written in single quotes, then it will be dynamic SOQL. Okay, this is the two indications here. Now I'm writing an SOQL query. Select ID of the account, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, active status. Here I would like to specify the phone, fax, customer priority, and the active status, and from account. Now, so now we have prepared this SOQL query. I would like to fetch the idea of the record, name, rating value, industry value, annual revenue, phone, and the fax, customer priority, active status from account. Now tell me, this query will return how many records? Only one record. Why only one record? Why not multiple? Because object is having only one record. Right. Now let's see the scenario. So this is the record is returning by my SOQL query. This is the record.
Excuse me, Firoz. Yesterday in select condition we don't use semicolon, right? Today you are using.
Now, in this case, let's see. I'm placing this record values. Assume that this is the record values over here. My query has returned a record. This is the ID of the record. The name of the record is some Ram Kumar. Rating value some heart. Industry some finance. Annual revenue some 12 lakhs. Phone I'm having some value. Fax I'm having some value. Customer priority some high. Active status some yes. These are the values. This is the record here. Now observe this one. So now yesterday we have prepared SOQL queries. There we have a separate editor. In this editor we have written this SOQL query. Just we have executed by using execute button, so that we no need to write any semicolon over here. But whenever we are executing this code through Apex programming, that already we know in Apex programming, each statement should be ends with a semicolon. That is a basic fundamental rule of Apex programming. So that whenever we are preparing this SOQL query inside this Apex programming, that statement should be ends with a semicolon. I'm preparing this a static SOQL query. So static SOQL queries will be always enclosed with square braces. Okay. Now this query
Yes,
is
yes.
returning how many records? Only one record. The query is returning only one record. Now tell me, if the query returns only one record, how can we store? How to store this record? Simple, straightforward. Object. What object? Okay. Now let's see. Suppose I have a number, okay, 459. This is what type of value? Integer value. How to store this value? By defining a variable. What type of variable? Integer type of variable. So we are defining a single variable, integer, some x. We are storing this value. Suppose I'm having a value, okay, some welcome. I want to store this value inside a variable. What we can do? String type of variable we are defining. So string some str, inside that variable I'm storing. So integer values I'm storing in the integer variable, string values I'm storing in string variable. Now here what it is returning? Account record. How to store an account record? What is the data type? Account data type. Okay, account data type some A. Now just you can able to store that. So in this case, whatever the account record written by this SOQL query, this account record I want to store inside a variable here of type account type. Account some ACC record. That's it. Just you can able to store this variable record inside this variable here. Suppose if it is more than one record, then what it should be done? List collection, list of account. That's it. Simple concept here. Now, in this case, what happened? Whenever the query returns only one record as a result, then in that case, store the result by defining the variable of that associated type. Because this is an account record, so we are defining one variable. Suppose if the query is collecting the data from opportunity, then this variable will be of type opportunity. If it is like some hiring manager, this variable will be of type hiring manager. So depends upon the record which you are going to store, define the variable of that associated type. So once the record has been getting prepared by this Apex programming, now this record reference will be storing inside my variable automatically by default here. The record reference will be storing inside my variable. Now, so whatever the record reference that we have, the record reference will be storing inside this variable automatically. Now this reference will be storing inside this variable. Okay, the reference of the record will be storing inside this variable. Then how can we print this record details over here? Now, I want to collect the details here. First of all, I would like to know whether this query has returned the record or not. In that case, what we can do, how to access this one? This value is of this value is what? ID value. This is what? This one, this one, this one. This is phone, fax, customer priority, active status. Then how can we access? ACC record dot ID, ACC record dot name, ACC record dot rating, ACC record dot industry. Like that, each and every field value we can collect. Okay, understood the concept here? Now, through with the help of this reference name, we can check. Now I want to check whether record is available or not. If ACC record dot ID not equals to null, that means in this particular record we ID is available. That means record is available. Then I would like to show the message over here. System dot debug account record ID is, I want to show the ID. How can we collect ACC record dot ID? Next, system dot debug. Account name is ACC record dot name. System dot debug. Rating value is, we can specify ACC record dot rating. System dot debug. Annual revenue is ACC record dot annual revenue. System dot debug. Customer priority is ACC record dot customer priority underscore underscore C. System dot debug. Active status is ACC record dot active underscore underscore C. Clear? That's it. This is how we need to write the piece of code. Upon using this SOQL query, if the static SOQL query returns only one record as a result, then define the variable of the associated type and we can store the record over here. Then, once a record reference has been stored inside this variable, we can access each and every field value by using this particular reference name dot field names over here. Okay? Yes, you can print. If you want to print the complete record in one shot, simply we can write a system dot debug of ACC record. That's it, simple. The whole record will be printed in one single line over here. Okay, that complete reference name we can print, it will print the whole record automatically. Okay, this is the concept of static SOQL. Okay, now make a note of this one. Static SOQL query. In this approach, the SOQL query should be always fixed, which can't be editable at runtime. That is, while preparing the SOQL query, we have to all the required fields and conditions. We have to specify all the required fields and conditions to be get applied to filter the records. But we can't include any more fields and conditions to the query at runtime. Now, always static SOQL query should be enclosed with square braces. Now we can specify SOQL query. Now, for example, we can specify select ID, name, rating, industry, active status from account. Now, static SOQL queries will get executed automatically by default. Static SOQL queries will get executed automatically by default and will return the results. In this case, if the query returns only one record, that means if the SOQL query returns only one record as a result, how to handle? In this case, if the SOQL query returns only one record as a result, then we have to store the record by defining a variable of the associated type. Syntax. We can specify the reference name equals to, we can able to write the SOQL query which returns only one record. For example, ACC record equals to select the ID, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, customer priority, active status from account. Now we can able to show that confirmation. If ACC record.id not equals to null, then I would like to show the record details. System.debug account record ID is ACC record.id. System.debug account name is ACC record.name. System.debug industry name is industry. Annual revenue value is, I want to show ACC record dot annual revenue. system.debug. Active status is acc recorded dot active status, like that. Then up to this part. Done with this part? Done everyone? Now, this is the first approach. Second approach, let's see. If the query returns multiple records, suppose if the SOQL query returns multiple records as the results, then how can we store them? List collection, right? In this case, for example, whenever we are fetching the data by using this object, with the help of this SOQL query, if the query returns multiple records as the results, then we can store them in the form of a list collection. Because list collection is the best suitable here. Can't we use arrays? Can I use arrays? Huh.
Exercise.
If I'm using arrays, what is the problem?
We can't change.
Okay. But all the
Exercise.
records are account records only. It's also homogeneous. Hmm. Then, in this case, if I'm storing the records in the form of an array, upon defining the array, we have to specify the size. But while executing this SOQL query, now the query will be collecting the records from the object. How many records it will collect? Do we have any guarantee? No. If the table contains one record, it returns one record. If the table contains 5 records, it returns 5 records. If the table contains 100 records, it returns 100 records. If the table is empty, it returns 0 records. So we don't know how many records are available in the object here. Until or unless we are not querying the record from the object, we don't know how many records are there. Without knowing those number of records, how can we define the array size? Suppose I'm defining the array size with 100, but my query returns only 2 records. Then what about the remaining 98 records memory? Waste. Suppose I'm defining the array size as 10. My query is returning 200 records. Can we store 200 records in the memory of 10 records allocation? No. This cannot be accommodatable. This is a problem. So that here arrays are fixed size collections whose size can't be grow, can't be shrink at runtime. So that here depends upon the number of records written by the query, it has to dynamically calculate the memory, that much of memory has to be get returned, reserved. For that reason, we are using the help of list collection. So that here, if the query returns a single record as a result, store the record by defining a single variable. If the query returns multiple records as a result, then we have to use list collection. Okay, understood the concept here? Now, in that case here, if I'm using this list collection, if I'm using that list collection, then how can we iterate? For example, this is the query that I'm preparing. List of account. LST accounts equals to, I'm preparing the query. Select the ID, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, and then customer priority. I'm indicating phone and the fax. Customer priority, and the active status from account. Now my query will be returning two records over here. Those two records will be storing inside this collection. Once the records has been stored in the collection, for example, assume that it has given two records. This is the first record. There is a second record. It has written two records over here. For example, now this reference will be storing inside my collection. Now tell me here, this whole record will be treating like as what? One single element. The whole record will be treating as one single element because this is list of account. Each element is nothing but one account record. This is one element. This is second element. Now tell me how many records my query has written. How do we know? How many records my query contains? Query has written.
Size.
LST accounts dot size method. We can use size method. We can use the help of size method. System dot debug number of records count as LST accounts dot size method. Now I would like to represent these records one by one. How to represent the records over here? By using for loop. So whatever the records are available, we have to iterate this collection. If you want to iterate the collection, first of all, we have to check collection contains records or not, right? Suppose if the collection is empty, that means my table is empty. Query has written zero records. So there is no records in the collection. Do I need to iterate the collection then? No. So first of all, I want to check whether my collection is empty or not. How to check whether collection is empty or not? Is empty method. Now we are using if I'm using not operator. LST accounts dot is empty. That means if the collection is not empty, that's what I'm using not operator here. Okay, exclamation symbol. It is indicating not. So if the collection is not empty, then what needs to be done? I need to iterate that collection from starting to ending. For now tell me, how can we iterate? Integer. I don't want to use normal for loop, enhanced for loop. Here I'm defining that collection here. What is the collection? LST accounts. In the left side, what we have to define? Account,
Account.
some ACC record. That means what here? In the right side, we have to pass the data source where exactly the records are available. The records are available inside my collection LST accounts. So here I'm passing the data source from this particular collection. Collect each account record because this collection is of type account. So collect each and every account record, store that record inside that variable. From the rest of the story will be same, no change. So we can show the record here. System dot debug account name is ACC record dot name. System dot debug industry name is ACC record dot industry. System dot debug active status is ACC record dot active underscore underscore C. Then automatically what will happen? It will collect the first record from the collection, print those values. Then it will take the second record from the collection, store inside the variable, print the second record, then third record, then fourth record, like that, all the records available inside my collection. Okay, understood the concept here? Now, this is a basic difference. If the query returns only one record as a result, then store the record by defining the variable of the associated type. If the query returns multiple records as a result, then define a list collection. Okay, define a list collection of that associated type. Clear? Understood the concept now? Next. Make a note of this one. If the SOQL query returns multiple records as a result, then we have to store the records by defining a list collection of the associated type. List of a subject data type, reference name equals to SOQL query which returns multiple records. For example, list of account LST accounts equals to select the ID of the account, name, rating, industry, active status from account. In that case, I would like to show system.debug. Number of account records are LST accounts dot size. I would like to check if LST accounts is not empty. If the collection is not empty, then we are iterating the collection for each and every account record from the collection. I would like to show the record. Account name is acc.name. Rating value is acc.rating. Industry name is acc record.industry. Active status is acc record.active underscore underscore C.
Hello, sir. We are unable to see your screen.
The screen is visible to everyone, madam. Please check it out.
Okay.
Just rejoin.
No, I have joined in the beginning only.
No, just rejoin that meeting again.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got now.
Maybe because of, okay, no. Maybe because of your internet access issue.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Firoz. In that SOQL query, can we write a select star instead of the column names?
No, we can't write star column star. Okay, in the yesterday session itself I told you star will not be okay supported by Salesforce. Star concept is completely eliminated in Salesforce.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Firoz.
Yes.
In this example, you write the select query, right? You
Right.
can add where condition also, right?
Yes. That will be
Okay.
next one. Okay.
Okay, thank
Once it is basic queries are done, then I will
you.
show you each and every class how to use where class, limit class, order by everything. We'll see one by one.
Thank you, Firoz. Thank you.
Hmm. Now, email template object, we have to specify ID of the email template, name of the email template, description of the email template, subject of that email template, and then we have body column from email template. Then we have to check in the object here. Just you can go to the developer console, you can see the fields. Now, let me show you. I'm going to my Salesforce org. If you don't know the field names of any of the object, just you can go to that developer console directly. Go to the developer console, click on file, open. Select that entity type as objects. Search for the object email template. Email template. Now we can see ID field, name field, owner ID, folder ID, in which folder this particular email template has been stored, and then whether this particular template is available for use or not. Template type, what type of template it is it a plain text template or custom template, HTML, visual force it is indicating, description of the template, and then subject of the template, body, this is the actual email body. Okay, from here we need to see that column names you can write inside your query. Role field will not be available because role is a separate object actually. Now, okay, role is a separate object. Okay, that's what we can't fetch the role directly. Right, right. No, we can't write that directly. If you want to fetch that role name, then we have to query the child to parent data again. That is different concept. That is relationship queries. How to fetch the data from user object, role object both. Okay, multiple objects. For that one, we can go with the help of relationship queries. But as of now, whatever the queries we are preparing, it will fetch the data from only one object here, not multiple. That is the next concept here. Okay. Clear up to this one? Next, second one. Dynamic SOQL query. What do you mean by dynamic SOQL queries here? What did you understood with this? Runtime. That means what? Hmm, hmm. Right. Forming the query, preparing the query, adding the columns, adding the conditions to the query at runtime here. Okay. Now, so in this case, as of now, we have prepared static SOQL queries. Static SOQL queries are always enclosing with the help of square braces, which will be making my query will be always fixed. Okay, which will make my query will be always fixed. Now, in this case here, whenever I'm enclosing the SOQL query inside the square braces, we can't make any changes inside this query. We can't add any more columns to the query. We can't add any conditions to the query also. But in some cases, I want to form the query dynamically at runtime. I want to include some columns dynamically at runtime. I want to add some conditions dynamically at runtime. In that case, if we want to prepare the query dynamically at runtime, then we can go with the help of a feature called as dynamic SOQL query. Now, in dynamic SOQL query, always the query will be storing in the form of a normal string variable. Why? Because if it is a string, keep on we can concatenate some more conditions also. Keep on we can add some more columns also over here. So we can able to form the query. Once the whole query has been getting prepared, then we can execute the query by using a method called as database.query method. Database is a ready-made class which has been given by Salesforce by default, which contains a collection of methods to interact with your Salesforce objects. To interact with the database objects, we are using the help of database class. In this database class, we have a method called as query method, which is used to execute the SOQL query which we have prepared. So that dynamic SOQL queries we have to invoke manually by using database.query method. Okay, clear? Now, so in this case, how can we prepare this dynamic SOQL query? Let me explain. For example, I'm preparing a string variable, string some accounts query. I'm writing some columns over here. Select ID column, name column, rating, industry, comma phone. Up to this part I have written over here. Later, after writing some more lines of code, based on certain condition, I'm adding some more columns also. Accounts query plus equals to, that means I'm concatenating over here. Comma, I'm adding facts column, I'm adding active status column here. Clear? Then after writing few more lines of code, based on some more conditions, I would like to farming that. Accounts query plus equals to, I would like to add customer priority. That means what? I'm going to preparing some part of the query over here. Later, based on certain conditions, I'm adding few more columns also. Based on some more conditions, I'm adding few more columns also. Once all the columns are ready, then we can able to add that condition here. Accounts query plus equals to, I'm indicating from account. Okay, the whole query we are not preparing at a time. We are keep on preparing part by part over here. Once all the parts has been concatenated, that means we are using plus equals to, that means concatenation over here. Then here I would like to add some condition. Based on certain conditions, I would like to add the conditions also. Accounts query plus equals to, I would like to add where condition, because some rating equals to hot. I'm adding this condition here. Once the whole query has been formed, then we can execute the query by using database.query method. We have to pass the distinct variable where exactly the query has been placed. Now this database.query method will execute the SOQL query. It returns the result in the form of list collection always. It returns the result in the form of list collection. Even though query may be returning one record or two records or 10 records or 100 records, return type will be always list collection here. That is a fundamental rule of database.query method. Clear? Understood the concept here? Instead of preparing the whole query at a time, keep on based on certain conditions, we can able to keep on add some more columns, we can add some conditions also. Once the whole query is ready, then we can execute the query by using database.query method. Okay? Clear? Now, make a note of this one. In this approach, we can prepare the SOQL query dynamically at runtime by adding the required fields and conditions to the query at runtime. By adding the required fields and the conditions to the query at runtime. Now, dynamic SOQL query should be always enclosed with a single quote. That is, we have to store the query inside a string variable. Syntax. String variable name equals to, we can specify SOQL query. Once the query has been prepared, then we have to invoke the dynamic SOQL query manually by using database.query method, which always returns the result in the form of list collection. Syntax. List of a subject data type, reference name equals to database.query. Here we have to pass that variable name. These are the two types of SOQL queries that we have in Apex programming, static and dynamic. Done?
Excuse me, Feroz.
Yes.
In this example, the last line, you're adding condition, right? Where writing is equal
Mhm.
to hot.
Right, right,
We note all the query in single quote, right?
right.
So usually, hot rate displayed in single quote. That means the hot.
String. So we
Uh,
have to store this value inside a single variable. We need to pass it. I will show you how to pass those values also when moving forward.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, Firas. Hello.
Yes.
Is it possible to create more than in custom objects in more than one database? More than one database?
More than one database.
This belongs to Salesforce or this our own database itself. In customs, more than two or three databases we have to create. It is possible.
If we want to connect with our multiple databases like Oracle, SQL Server, then we have to go with integration. Through integration, we can able to integrate your Salesforce with any multiple databases also.
Okay, we have to write dynamic same like this type, or we have to do another.
Right, right. We have to write that queries to fetch the data, and along with that, we have to use that the functionality of web services to integrate with the third party.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Done with this? Now, this is how we are going to preparing our own SOQL queries. Static SOQL, dynamic SOQL both. Then how to prepare these queries and how to execute them, we'll see in tomorrow's session. Tomorrow I will show you the practical concept. Initially, we'll go with that static SOQL queries concept here. How to use the static SOQL queries to fetch the data from the object. There I will show you three different styles. Upon writing this SOQL queries in the real-time implementation, people are using three different styles over there. What are those three different styles? I will show you with the three different examples in tomorrow's session. Then we'll see how to use the classes like a where class, limit class, offset class, order by class, everything how to use them. We'll see practically. At the last, we'll see dynamic SOQL query concept as well. Okay. Now, don't miss that features tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll see the practical concept of this SOQL queries. Okay. Now, but we are not going to be executing the SOQL queries in developer console. Always in the real time, we are using this Apex programming only to execute the query. Developer console's query editor is only for testing the query. Suppose upon preparing the query through SOQL Apex programming, if the query is giving some issue, to find out what is the problem, for that one just we can test by executing in the query editor. That's it. That is the only purpose. But we are not writing any queries in query editor in the real time. Always we have to write through Apex programming over here. Okay. Now, thank you.